Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and today we are continuing these Oscar predictions. We've had some major precursors come in, give their feedback, so now it's time for us to react to it. Today we are talking about director and best original and adapted screenplay. I just covered Best Picture in an episode that came out maybe yesterday, so if you missed that, definitely go down to the link below, hit subscribe, check out that video. I gave my updated list with kind of how I'm feeling about things.
So I'm going to be taking the Best Director category today, and if you watched the Best Picture video yesterday, you saw that Dylan's number one in Best Picture was Oppenheimer. You probably also heard me say I'm switching my Best Picture pick to Oppenheimer at this point.
Dubs.
And as I have been, L for me, I do not want Oppenheimer to win, but whatever, it's fine. It's fine, whatever. Anyways, to go along with that, I have had Christopher Nolan winning Best Director for many months, and he is still my number one here. But I would actually say at this point, this is a lock for a winner, in the same way that a couple of years ago, Jane Campion was a lock, or Guillermo del Toro was a lock. At this point, Christopher Nolan has this sealed up. It is just guaranteed at this point. I'm not saying that as like I'm trying to jinx it, because genuinely, I would be happy if Christopher Nolan got a Best Director. I'm against Best Picture, but, it's fine if he takes Best Director. I would love to see it go to Yorgos Lanthimos personally, but I feel incredibly strongly that Christopher Nolan is going to sweep the season in Best Director, as we often see happen. This happens in this category all the time, where one person cleans up the whole season, and we're going to see it again this year. So who is number two? Who's the next most likely to be nominated? Well, I'd say the next most likely to be nominated is probably Martin Scorsese, but if someone was going to topple Christopher Nolan, it would be Greta Gerwig, which is why she is my second place. A lot of people are going to say, Matt, that's crazy. Greta Gerwig is snubbable. And to that I say, y'all said the same shit about Daniels last year. Oh, it's not a directing movie. It's a screenplay movie. It's not a directing movie. The achievement's not in the directing. Look at Barbie. That is a visual masterpiece. The reason people love that movie, yes, because of the screenplay, but it's also because of the strength of the vision of that film, the strength of having an auteur behind it. It's very possible that people would have completely overlooked Barbie altogether if Greta Gerwig wasn't on that film. That's the reason it was such a huge success. To me, the director's branch is going to look at that, see the achievement of a director who took a franchise movie, a silly movie for kids, and turned it into the biggest movie of the year, and not just a financial hit, but an awards sensation. She is not Joseph Kosinski for Top Gun. She is not Denis Villeneuve for Dune. Barbie is a stronger film than either of those, and Greta Gerwig is a bigger name, at least than Joseph Kosinski. Maybe not Denis Villeneuve, but, for box office, probably a bigger name than Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, I would agree with almost everything that you just said there. I think Nolan, Gerwig, 100% locks. Marty is as well. But I think after that is when some people may not be as strong as maybe prior belief had stated.
Yeah, I previously had Yorgos Lanthimos as my number two. I thought it was possible that he could topple Christopher Nolan, and now I'm just feeling like Poor Things might hit a few snags along the way. We are on the brink of, I'm absolutely certain, when Poor Things releases in theaters, we're going to be hit with one of the biggest controversies of the year. People are going to be calling this the pedo movie, guaranteed. Coming out of the woodwork to be like, how dare Hollywood make a movie about a child's brain being in an adult woman's body and sex happening? Guaranteed. That is going to be a conversation that is had around Poor Things. People are going to be furious about that movie. And yes, it'll still make it into a ton of Oscar nominations, but I think that its winning chances in many categories will be shot.
It's something where when Poor Things debuted at Venice, I remember talking a lot about in our video as well as on the Discord of how people jumping to saying like, oh, it's number one, it's going to be winning all this stuff, was just, it's like Poor Things is obviously going to be great, but it still has limitations from the source material where we need to wait to see how non-Venice audiences react to it. And
we still haven't seen that. So
we have in little parts. It had a very good per theater average. It had an A- cinema score, but that's on a very small level. Once it expands wide, that score will plummet, just like with Uncut Gems, where when it first debuted, it had, I think, like an A, maybe a B+ cinema score, and then it went all the way down to like a D once general audiences got to see it, because it's not the movie that you expect going in. Emma Stone's fans, while she's been in some weirder stuff in the past, she hasn't been in anything like this, from at least what I understand from the source material. So I'm very excited to see it for myself. But yes, Yorgos would be the person who I would take out if someone like Bradley Cooper pops head up into the race, because he has currently been hitting everything so far. Maybe he's that guy who gets DGA who misses the Oscar, but if he gets DGA and he gets BAFTA, I don't know how he misses if he has everything.
I don't know. I mean, that would put him...
That would put him at number 3. Four. That would put him at 4.
I kind of disagree, because I think Yorgos will also get those things. It's just possible that Bradley Cooper makes it in and he kicks out the international slot, which is currently Jonathan Glazer for the Zone of Interest. It's totally possible we don't have that international slot filled this year.
But
that said, the director's branch does not like actors turned directors. They used to really go for that. They have not in many years. Let me actually just
I'm gonna
look up the last time.
I'm gonna hop in real quick before people in the comments be like, "Oh my gosh, Greta Gerwig is an actor turned director." I think
it's not the same.
Yeah, it's Bradley Cooper is a big actor. Greta Gerwig was a big actor, but Bradley Cooper was like A-list actor turned director. But if Cooper does come in, he takes out Glazer or Trey's spot. You can also make the case that Yorgos Lanthimos is our international director. That is a very international branch heavy type favorite movie if we're talking about its reception at Venice, its reception in international voting bodies so far, like the Globes. He could just be the international selection all along, even though, like Triangle of Sadness, it is an English language movie.
Yeah, Glazer at number 5 makes a lot of sense to me. He's going to get in BAFTA. He is not going to get DGA. But the fact that Zone of Interest has been performing so well in key places like the Golden Globes, where it probably should not have performed as well as it did, that says to me that it's likely the international movie this year. I mean, of course, there's Anatomy of a Fall. I do have Justine Triet down at 9. And the reason for that is that I just don't think that is as much of a directing movie. It's more of a screenplay movie. So if I were to see the race break down and have both Anatomy and Zone in Picture, which I currently do, I would say the path for that is that Jonathan Glazer gets into director and Justine Triet gets in for original screenplay, and that's the breakdown of how it works. I don't think Justine Triet really has much of a shot in director. Again, it's just not that type of movie, whereas Zone of Interest is 100% all about the directing.
Mm-hmm. So for the rest of your lineup on the outside looking in, you have Cooper and who else?
I've got Alexander Payne at number 7. He just made it into the Critics' Choice, where I didn't think he would make it in. Now, some people are still going to say he's number 5. I genuinely think Critics' Choice might be where it stops for him. I don't see him getting a DGA nomination. I don't see him getting a BAFTA nomination. So to me, it's the top 4 plus Bradley Cooper for DGA. For BAFTA, it's probably the top 4 plus Andrew Haig, Jonathan Glazer, or Justine Triet, or Celine Song. And Celine Song is my number 8. She got the Golden Globe nomination, which was a huge boost for the film. Huge boost. It showed that not only was it strong enough to get into picture and screenplay, it also made other categories too. So Celine Song looks great right now. And I'd say my top 9 are all that I see as possible.
Really shocked at how Color Purple is performing so far. I know you and I both really liked it. We've heard some other people who also got to see it who are not really big fans. So maybe it will just be one of those movies where you either really love it or you really don't, which kind of seems to be the trend with musicals that aren't named West Side Story.
I guess so. I guess it is the case. But I'm still hoping that it can pull off some nominations. That said, director is not one of them.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I have conceded he is out of my lineup. I have then now recently re-brought in Yorgos Lanthimos into my top 5 in director. So I agree with your 5. I think Cooper would be 6, but I would put Song above Payne, and I kind of think that's where our realistic contenders stop, but then Payne would be my 8, Triet, Jefferson, rounding out my 10. And maybe Todd Haynes could even pop up somewhere. I wouldn't be shocked if he found his way into like a BAFTA.
Yeah, he could totally make a BAFTA. If Todd Haynes shows up anywhere, it's BAFTA. And if that's the case, then maybe he could make a run for being that I know he's an American director and it's an American film, but it's a very European-styled movie. He could make a run for that international slot.
I do believe, though, if Haynes was stronger, he would have made that Globe lineup. And I do believe if CCA did 10 directors again, he would have been in that 10. But that moves us over to original screenplay, where I'm going to be honest, I don't have that much movement since the last time that we talked about this category. I have Barbie at my number 1. If it's in this category, it wins, no question. If Barbie does move to adapted, which it's still not confirmed if this is an original screenplay contender at the Oscars, that's where this becomes fun. Past Life seems like the easy winner, but if they love Anatomy, maybe. But last year we saw the international branch is not that strong when it comes to screenplay, because All Quiet still did not win over Women Talking. But, maybe this year could be a little bit different of Barbie's in another category. But still, Barbie's here. It's winner, hands down. If you have something else, would love to hear the argument, but I wouldn't agree with it. Holdovers is my number 4. Very secure for nomination. I see zero shot for a win. I know that there are some people out there right now saying Holdovers, it could win screenplay right off picture. No. 5 slot, very secure, I feel right now, for May, December, unless it has a massive fall off. This just seems, as I talked about in our picture episode, destined to be Lost Daughter 2.0. Screenplay, 2 acting nominations. I have it being Melton and Moore right now, just because lead actress is so stacked for Portman, even if she's very deserving. But I think it's easy in at least number 5, if not 4, in all of those categories. On the outside looking in is Air. It's hit kind of where it needs to, but it hasn't really overperformed anywhere. So to me, it's not enough to make it get in to be a lone original screenplay nominee, which we sometimes usually do have one. Just maybe that is May, December. Maybe that is Past Lives. Maybe it's Anatomy in like a crazy cuckoo world. After that, though, was Maestro. I think this is like Elvis 2.0. It's in picture, but it's not getting screenplay. We don't always have 10 for 10 overlap of picture nominees and screenplay nominations, and I think Maestro is at least R1 if we don't have an additional one of maybe Zone of Interest, being the outside looking in the picture lineup, or Color Purple if that finds its way into the Best Picture race.
I am going to say I think Holdovers should be above Anatomy of a Fall, because I see no world where the Holdovers is snubbed, but I do see a world where Anatomy of a Fall does not make the screenplay lineup. I might even argue that May December's 4 and Anatomy of a Fall is 5. Again, because May December has made everywhere. Holdovers has made everywhere. Anatomy of a Fall has missed in some key locations. And so, it didn't make a Critics' Choice screenplay. I don't think it made Golden Globes screenplay. And if that's the case, did it make Golden Globes screenplay? Let me just
Anatomy and May December both did not make Golden Globe screenplay. But my case for having Anatomy above them is just because I think if Barbie does move, Anatomy is in win contention, where I think Holdovers and May December are not in win contention. But yes,
I would
for
disagree.
nomination,
Holdovers is definitely, if Barbie moves, it's Past Lives versus Holdovers. Anatomy of a Fall will not factor into the winning conversation for original screenplay.
I guess that we will have to see. But yeah, my 10 overall, like I said, there's not much movement. I moved some little stuff down below. Saltburn, I guess, is my new number 8 for, I guess, that CCA picture nomination can give it some love, but I still think it's a non-factor in every category across the board. Boy in the Heron, Origin, passionate, small minority. I don't think that's enough to get into a line that seems pretty secure like this. Because in years past, when we do have that random solo screenplay nomination, it's in a weaker category, like COVID year, when something very random like The White Tiger, but that was in a weaker year where we didn't really have much in adapted screenplay because of the COVID year. And I just don't know if something like Boy in the Heron or Origin has that push to get it in a year where we have a stronger 5 or even 6 if you want to count Air.
Good point. I really do think that this 5 is pretty locked up, with minimal room for a surprise at this point.
Yeah, and if there is a random solo screenplay nomination, it would be Air at the end of the day. But over to adapted, where unless Barbie moves, we have a set 4. We don't know our 5, but if Barbie moves, this category would be insane.
I have American Fiction at number 1, Oppenheimer at number 2, Poor Things at number 3, and Killers of the Flower Moon at number 4. Those 4 are in. It is locked. They are there, guaranteed. Now, I know what y'all are going to say. Why do you have American Fiction winning? It just missed the Golden Globe for Best Screenplay, and Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Killers of the Flower Moon all got nominated for Best Screenplay at the Golden Globes. Why would American Fiction win? Well, let me take you through a little stat here, which is the Golden Globe screenplay nominees do not really matter for Best Adapted Screenplay's winner. In the past, we have had, since 2017, 4 Best Screenplay winners not be nominated for Best Screenplay at the Golden Globes. In 2021, Coda was not nominated for Best Screenplay at the Globes, and it later won Best Adapted Screenplay. Jojo Rabbit missed the nomination at the Globes, and it won Best Adapted Screenplay. 2018, BlacKkKlansman missed the nomination at the Globes, got the win for Best Adapted Screenplay. And in 2017, both screenplay winners missed the Golden Globe nomination for Best Screenplay, and then Get Out and Call Me By Your Name won the Oscars. So, do I care that American Fiction did not get nominated at the Golden Globes? I really couldn't care less. I still think this is going to win. I don't see Oppenheimer sweeping to the point where it takes adapted screenplay as well, and Poor Things is going to run into some issues down the line that will make it out of win contention for adapted screenplay. Killers of the Flower Moon, I also just do not see as a winning script at all.
And to back you up a little bit with American Fiction, they really do like awarding writer-directors, especially in their first movie or their first big movie, which American Fiction kind of checks off all those boxes. Cord Jefferson's debut, he is a writer-director here. It makes a lot of sense in that like Jojo Rabbit type feel, which is another example of what you're talking about before of a eventual screenplay winner that missed out on the Globe nomination.
Yes. And you could also say that Oppenheimer is a writer-director, but that's
these all are.
Except for Poor Things. Poor Things is not.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, and Killers of the Flower Moon was a rewrite by Scorsese, but I wouldn't consider that a writer-director situation because it's Eric Roth, too.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. But yeah, your top 4, I agree with those. I think almost everyone should agree with those unless they're predicting a major snub. But here at number 5 is where I think things get interesting because I have been proposing for the majority of the year that could be Zone of Interest for another supporting nomination for Best Picture. Some bodies have done it, some bodies haven't, and that's where I think the fun part of this category comes from is number 5, almost everyone has a different option because there's like 4 realistic, but you can go up to like 6 different options to put into the spot.
Yeah, so currently Zone of Interest has only been mentioned by 3 groups through the season, plus the Gothams, for adapted screenplay. I don't buy into Zone of Interest whatsoever. I really just think that would be a bad nomination. So maybe I am just clouding myself by saying there's no chance for Zone of Interest. I've got it down at number 8. I do think there's a chance. But again, how are you going to give something a screenplay nomination that barely has a screenplay? So what do I have instead of Zone of Interest? I've got All of Us Strangers at my number 5 slot. This has performed very well with screenplay prizes so far. It got the Critics' Choice nomination today, and it won the LA Film Critics Circle for screenplay as well. It's going to make it into BAFTA, and it's going to make it into some other screenplay prizes along the way. It feels stronger than most other things so far. Now, the other thing that's showing some strength right now is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which also got a Critics' Choice nomination today, and I would love to see this get a nomination. It would be really cool. It would be our... Every year we have one screenplay nominee that gets no other nominations, and that would be it. Although Rachel McAdams is possible. Strangers would also fit that bill unless Andrew Scott can pull something miraculous out, even though he's missed really everywhere so far. No, he got
Globes.
What am I talking about? Unless Andrew Scott pulls off something absolutely miraculous at this point, which he still very much could. The question is just who would miss for Andrew Scott right now. But this isn't an acting video. This is screenplay. So Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is my number 6. Number 7 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That was hurt a lot this morning with the Critics' Choice Awards not going for it in adapted screenplay, where it really should have been. After that, I've got at number 9, The Color Purple, number 10, Society of the Snow, and following that, Nyad. And that's all that I see as possibilities.
Nyad, sweet. But yeah, I agree. It's your top 4, and between 5, 6, 7, take your pick of the bunch.
And maybe 8, maybe Zone of Interest.
Sorry, I was reading Zone as 7. But yeah, I would say Strangers, Margaret, and Zone. One of those are probably going to be our last slot in here, and it's do they want to go 5 for 5 picture overlap? Do they want to do a solo screenplay nomination, which I think is probably the smart thing because I don't have one over in original, so I think that I should have one here in adapted. And I do agree that Strangers makes more sense than Margaret overall, even if probably I haven't seen Strangers, but I really did like Margaret's script, so I would really like to see that nomination.
that brings us to the end of today's predictions video. Let us know what you're thinking right now. Who is winning Best Director? Who is getting nominated for Best Original Screenplay? What's your solo screenplay nomination? And thank you so much for watching. As always, my name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and this is Fantasy Filmball.